Good evening and thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Daniela Hankey.
And I'm John Evans. Tonight in a WECT News exclusive, we're hearing from Southport's police chief about what he remembers from the night of the deadly mass shooting there.
That shooting at the American Fish Company left 3 dead and several others injured. WCT's Delaney Tarpley spoke to Chief Todd Coring at the site of the shooting. And
Delaney, you two covered a lot of ground in this exclusive interview.
Yeah, that's right, John and Daniela. Even though the shooting happened more than 2 months ago, Chief Coring says detailed memories of that night aren't going anywhere. He said not only are the victims impacted forever, but so is the community he was born and raised in.
You know, some people...
For Southport Police Chief Todd Coring, every day on the job is him continuing a family legacy. His father and grandfather both served as Southport's police chief.
You know, you hear people say, oh, this is my town, or I'm the chief, but this really is my hometown. I grew up here at this beach I played on, and my dad, we unloaded boats here fishing, my dad.
Which makes what happened right off of this shoreline all the more emotional for him. What is it like for you to be back here?
Oh man, it kind of takes me back a little bit.
It's not easy for Chief Coring to return to the scene of the darkest night in his career.
I never in a million years would have thought we'd have a shooter here in our waterfront district.
It's been more than 2 months since a gunman opened fire from his boat at American Fish Company, killing 3 people and injuring several others. But Chief Coring remembers every detail like it was yesterday.
You know, when I got the call, I thought, okay, somebody has gotten aggravated and they pulled a gun and maybe shot somebody.
Then he heard the panic in his officers' voices over the radio.
I was numb to it. I was kind of in disbelief, like I said, riding in. I remember turning the corner and just seeing the mass amount of emergency responders, people rushing out. I was encountering citizens that had fled out and were running and saying, Chief, it's bad, you need to hurry up.
Do you think there's any kind of training that's sufficient for walking into a situation like that?
I don't think there is any training that can prepare you, and just going in and seeing what our responders were having to do and how they were trying to protect and save lives. It's numbing and certainly something that you don't prepare to see.
He describes watching his officers hold pressure on gunshot wounds and perform CPR. At the time, they didn't even know if the shooter was still in the area.
The American Fish Company is so unique. The front, you look at here and you think it's 4 walls, but it's really 3 walls. The front of the restaurant, and that's what's so amazing about that location, is because the front of it is open to the Cape Fear River. We were still in an open environment. I was worried I could see a boat or 2 still in the waterway, so I went into defense mode.
He says about half an hour later, a brief sense of relief. Someone pulled him to the side, telling him a suspect had been taken into custody.
That was the first time that I remember I could kind of take a deep breath and was very hopeful.
Coring held a press conference on his own around 2 in the morning.
November will be 8 years that I've been the chief, and I don't recall a time that we've had an active shooter situation like this, so it's definitely it's a bad night for Southport.
That bad night led to a tough day filled with more press conferences, reviewing evidence, and a vigil at Southport Baptist Church. Chief Coring and his officers sitting in the front row.
Don't recall when I was able to finally get home. It was probably late into Sunday night.
Since then, he's attended court appearances for the suspect, Nigel Edge, who was arrested in Oak Island later that night. Edge was an Iraq War veteran who suffered a traumatic brain injury while serving. Investigators say that left him with significant mental health issues. He was familiar to police in Oak Island and had filed more than a dozen lawsuits against them and others in 2025 alone.
He was on their radar.
Right.
What's your response when you hear people saying that something should have been done long before now?
It is a touchy situation. Honestly, some of that does make us angry that there's only so much that we can do because, you know, then someone will say we're violating their gun rights.
The situation in Southport has once again brought up conversations about red flag laws, or here in North Carolina, the lack of one. A red flag law allows for law enforcement to temporarily take away weapons from someone who has been deemed a danger to themselves or others. While Chief Coring isn't ready to say his opinion on the issue,
I'm certainly doing my research on it to see, you know, what it entails, and before I decide, you know, how I want to where my stance on it is, I guess.
He does think it's a conversation worth having.
I do want to kind of watch that and certainly be a part of discussions if it should come to that.
Beyond dealing with the suspect, arguably, Chief Coring's bigger focus has been on the victims, the community, and the well-being of his own officers. He says seeing the way the community came together in the aftermath of the shooting is something he will never take for granted.
You hear it a lot in the community, you know, we appreciate our law enforcement, we back the blue, but to see it and to feel it like we have since this has just been, it's very emotional to me.
Now, Chief Coring wants to use this experience to help other departments any way he can.
If we can help other agencies, and you think about beauty from ashes and things like that, if we can train and you know, rise up and see some good out of this.
So that this unspeakable tragedy isn't what his hometown becomes known for.
In the aftermath of that shooting, Southport police did increase their foot patrols in the waterfront district on busy nights. Chief Coring tells me he's done several of those patrols himself since he likes to lead his department by example. John.
So Delaney, Nigel Edge, you mentioned him in your story, the guy who's charged in that shooting. Still in jail tonight. We know that. So what's next for him?
John, Edge is expected to be back in court this January for his disposition hearing. That hearing was originally supposed to happen last month, but it was continued until after the start of the new year.
Interesting conversation with the police chief. Delaney, thanks.